it's a big show.
Welcome to the Fade Route
It's a big bad show tonight.
with DNZ.
Yeah, it's a big show.
Here are your hosts,
Cracking up, telling them lies.
DNZ.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Fade Route with D and Z. I am D. We got a great show for you tonight. Tom Brady takes 10 days off. Lamar still doesn't have a contract. And Bob Squirrell joins us on the in route. But we begin today's show with the New York Jets. Rookie Zach Wilson went down on a non-contact injury in the first quarter of the Jets' second possession during their first preseason game. The Jets are optimistic that the injury is a meniscus tear and a bone bruise, which means Wilson will be able to play in 2 to 4 weeks. Z, what should the Jets do?
Well, let's take a quick look at their depth chart, shall we, before we go on to what they will do. Joe Flacco is allegedly their backup, right? He's listed as second string on the depth chart. Was not in uniform. He was in street clothes doing his best quarterback coach impression. So he's just looking like he wants to get out of the league. But I'm just going to be real here. Joe Flacco did not look like he wanted to play at all. And, you know, if that is going to be if that's going to be the answer, then, that's not great. Because who is the week one opponent? The Baltimore Ravens. And what's one thing that the Ravens do? They rush the quarterback. And what's one thing that Joe Flacco is not? Mobile. So it's like having Frankenstein's monster under center. So that is not the best of options. Now, Flacco, 98 and 78 is his career, 227 touchdowns, Super Bowl MVP. Like, he has cred in the league, but he's our age. He's 37 years old. You know, he's at the tail end of his career. Now, the good thing is that it's a 2 to 4 week stopgap type situation. So if everything goes right, because it's 2 to 4 weeks, and maybe Zach Wilson will be ready by then. That's the thing with knees. He still has to be in football shape. Then you have to worry about chemistry issues since he's missing the time with his number ones. It's a difficult mix for a second-year player to jump back into. So, yeah, you're going to go to Flacco because makes the most sense. But Mike White, Jets legend for a game, Mike White. But that got exposed pretty damn quickly. He'll be a fine stopgap, backup, whatever you want to do. And then Chris Streveler is your fourth string. And he led the charge, right, against the B teamers and the C teamers in the Jets' victory on this past weekend. So, what they're going to do is rely on that depth. I know where you want them to go. And I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think necessarily that Joe Douglas is going to stomach what it's going to take to get one Mr. Garoppolo in here, especially with a short-term injury, but I'm not so sure it's a short-term injury. But they're going to roll with who's in-house, and we'll definitely see what happens.
Well, I'm pretty sure when Zach Wilson got hurt, Joe Flacco went, "Oh, shit."
It's like, I got to play?
Shit. I'm with you, and I think Flacco's kind of nailed it in. He won his MVP. He won his Super Bowl. He's got like 6 children. He just needs a paycheck. And it was pretty apparent. It's the first preseason game. Zach Wilson's dressed, Mike White's dressed, but Joe Flacco's not dressed. And he's still got a big arm. He can still throw, but he's not exactly what this team needs. Listen, if this was an insurance gig, you just set it on fire, right? And just start over, right? Listen, if I were the Jets, I'd be calling the 49ers now, right? because you're not going to have that much leverage once other teams are getting involved. So I'm just trying to gauge what's it going to take, because if you believe in Zach Wilson, right, it would behoove you not to start him in the gauntlet that they've got to run their first couple of games. I mean, they start off with the NFC North, and it doesn't get easier after that. Like, they got a tough 8 to 9 games to start the season. So you're gonna trot Wilson out there on a bad knee against, I don't know, like some of the best pass rushers in the league. I just think if you're trying to protect this kid, if he really is the future, then let's give him until October. Let's give him until November. I mean, Jimmy G is notorious for getting hurt anyway. I mean, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to win? Are we going to be like the Giants and we're going to be like, you know what? If he doesn't work out, we get a top 5 pick next year. Next year's quarterback class is the shit. Like, is that what you start to think? But also, if I'm looking at this, I understand it was one series. And I understand it's the first preseason game. But dude did not look sharp. It's not like he went out there and he was 3 for 3 for 45 yards. He was 1 for 3 with a pick. And when he was running, he looked like me running right now. Like, when I was his age, no one's catching me in the open field. All right? I mean, his shake was so slow, and he tripped up himself. So that's where I am. I mean, I've been down on him, but imagine how awful it's going to feel if this kid is hurt for a month and you see Trey Lance lighten it up, and they're 4-0 because they have the ability to go 4-0. I'm pretty sure their first 2 tests are against bum teams. I think they're playing like Seattle, and I want to say like the Texans or something like that. So I don't know. That's where I sit.
Wilson, Lance, Mac Jones. Those guys are going to be tied together because they're not Trevor Lawrence.
So. Right.
Right. They're like the other guys. It's like the Brady Six, right? They're always going to be lumped together. So if Jones and Lance, 2 guys I linked Jones to the Jets. I know you were big on Jones to the Jets. And if either one of those guys gets off to like a meteoric start, I'm sure Joe Douglas is gonna doubt himself a little bit, but like I think they're gonna trust the process on this one. But to your point, like it was a poor decision on Zach Wilson's part, and Anthony Beck pretty much nailed that in his analysis. When he cut back in, he cut wider than his shoulder.
Yeah.
So he actually essentially did a split while trying to cut.
Yeah, like, what are you doing?
Just go down or get
run
out of bounds.
Run out of bounds. What are you trying to accomplish on that play? Like,
right.
What do you know this is a preseason game? And like I was saying before, they open up against the Ravens, Browns, Jets, Steelers. You gonna bring him back for the Steeler game?
No.
You gonna bring him back for the Browns game?
No.
So I guess
Myles Garrett? Let's bring him back.
What are we talking about? We're gonna talk about the Dolphins? All right. But then you got Packers, Broncos. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm trying to play, hey, this guy, you believe in him, he's your future, let's protect him. Are the Jets winning the Super Bowl this year? No. So what are we going to bring him back fast for? What are we trying to do? What are we trying to prove? Get him rested. Let him come back in October. Let him come back in the middle of October. See where the season's going. If you're 4-2 or 4-1 with Jimmy G, let him relax. Sit back, man. Have a Coke and a smile. If you're struggling, if Jimmy G gets hurt after the second or third game, then bring the kid in. But to just say, oh, we're going to get him back as soon as he can, nah, not with a knee. And I'm pretty sure this is the same knee he hurt last year. So this is the second time this kid's going down with this knee ailment. And we've already talked about he's fragile. Like, he came from BYU, man. And that's what I keep telling people. Like, he came from BYU. It's the first time he's seen a grown man in his life. So anyway, avoid messy accidents. Get better stopping power with your brake pads. Callahan brake pads. You never know when you'll be driving in the road and there will be a truck tire that you need to avoid and save your family. Callahan Auto. We really care about what's under your hood. Listen, we don't put much stock into preseason games, but all the quarterbacks on the field for the Steelers-Seahawks game over the weekend, they didn't look like Zach Wilson. Kenny Pickett really impressed in his debut with a 13 for 15, 95 yards and 2 tutties. Were you impressed? If not, which quarterback impressed you? And I know it wasn't Zach Wilson.
Well, you said have a Coke and a smile. I'm on record saying my feelings about preseason football. We're talking about Diet Coke. It doesn't mean anything. But
Tell that's a viewership. People watch more preseason football than they did the NHL Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals. Figure that shit out.
the NFL is the number one sport. Fans are on that. They are absolutely 100% locked into whatever it is, right? The combine gets huge numbers. The draft gets huge numbers. Roger Goodell could take a shit and it would get huge numbers. I'm not giving you ideas, Raj. Please don't. Coming to NFL.com. Live bathroom cam from Bronxville. No. Geno Smith is Geno Smith is Geno Smith. I'm discarding that right now. 10 to 15 for 101.
Really? You're just going to discard him like that? I actually thought he played very well. I understand. Yes, he is Geno Smith, but still he looked competent. You don't think the Jets wish they had that?
After 9 years in the league, Geno Smith, the best you can say about him is he's competent.
He looked competent. I can't say that about a lot of other guys.
After 10 goddamn years in the league, he better look competent, or he's going to be struggling to find a job. Like Mason Rudolph, same thing. He is who he is. Like, I'm impressed by two guys, right? Kenny Pickett, I'm the rookie out of Pittsburgh. Not sure what he's going to be. He's facing top flight competition. You know, this is different than what he's used to. 13 to 15 for 95. They're not moving the ball down the field. They're not being all that, they're not being all that great. It's a 6.3 average per, but, it's conservative. They're going to rely heavily on their run game anyway because you have Najee Harris. Like, this is what's going to be. He didn't play, but Najee Harris is going to be the bell cow on that team. But I'm very impressed with Kenny Pickett. Even Mitch Trubisky, 4-7. Okay, fine. Nobody, and The Rock means nobody, threw a pick in this game. And you had Geno Smith, Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and Drew Lock, and nobody threw a pick. That's awesome. Kenny Pickett is intriguing. Drew Lock is intriguing because of the chip that he has on his shoulder and the attitude that he carries. This guy, Aaron Hicks was talking about, we need to have some fuck you in him. Drew Lock has some fuck you in him. Drew Lock wants to prove that he is the guy that John Elway said he was going to be when the Broncos drafted him. Now he's got even more fuel on the fire to make that happen. The only thing that is going to be an issue for him is that, he's going to throw to Noah Fant, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside that just got him from the Eagles, DK Metcalf, and Travis Homer. That's going to be it.
Tyler Lockett's still there.
We will see. We will definitely see. But it's not great. It's not great shakes. And Kenneth Walker is going to be the running back. Mostly, it would have been Chris Carson, but he retired. But, I'm looking at Pickett for a rookie. Nice. Only 2 incompletions. And for Drew Lock, for something to prove, 102 yards, 7-yard average, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I like what I see out of those two guys in particular.
But that's what I'm trying to say is the Steelers put their quarterback in position where he felt comfortable and where he looked good, right? He wasn't 1 for 3 with a pick, right? And I believe the offensive coordinator this year, I think it's Matt Canada still, right?
In Pittsburgh? Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so Matt Canada. So, he put him, like you said, it was a pedestrian, 6 yards per attempt or whatever. But he looked comfortable in the pocket. He didn't look panicked. He threw some nice passes. He threw 2 touchdowns. Like, if I'm the Steelers, I'm like, all right, he's competent, right? That's what we want. Geno, I told you, I really like Geno. I thought he looked good. He threw some darts. I get that it's 9 years in the league, but hey, look at Joe Flacco. He don't look that good, and Geno can move. If he had to move, he moved. But the guy that I was really impressed with, and it's my dude, it's Mr. Drew Lock. 11 for 15, 102 yards, and a tutty. I'm still a Drew Lock fan. In fact, when I was on vacation recently in South Carolina, somebody was wearing a Drew Lock jersey. Holler back. It was awesome. Never seen one of those in person before. But I always liked him. How about this? Watson. Watson looked like dog shit. 1 for 5 for 7 yards.
Getting booed out of the building?
Now, if Kenny Pickett came out looking like that, right? We'd be talking about that. So I think they came in with a plan. They executed it. Kid looked good. I think the Steelers have a good quarterback competition because I think Mitch is ultimately going to take the job, but Kenny Pickett showed he could play. And on the flip side, Seattle's got a toss-up. You would think that they would go with Drew Lock because he was a part of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was part of the Wilson trade. Like, you wouldn't just take him and not play him, right? And as far as Carolina was concerned, Baker and Sam got in their thing. I mean, it's whatever, but, you would think that Baker would win that job, right? Because they traded for him, right? You're not going to trade for a guy and say, thanks, hold the clipboard. Especially Carolina opens up against the Browns. You kind of got to play Baker in that game, right?
A little bit of added intrigue, that's for sure. So, at the end of the day, like there are some storylines that you're definitely looking for. There aren't that many competitions, right? Like, a lot of teams have their guy. A lot of their guys have already been paid. Like, even some guys who don't necessarily deserve it yet, like a Kyler Murray. Like, I think that was a bit of a reach, but a lot of the quarterback battles are for the lower position, right? They're going to be for the backup. They're not necessarily for the starters. Like, the outlier is going to be the position battle for the starter. So, like, the Sam and the Baker, or out in Seattle with Locke and with Geno Smith. Like, it's really, this is what makes a lot of preseason football Diet Coke for me. It's just that those down the roster battles that, you're not really paying too much attention to. But you're also looking at, what about this that just came out as well, that the Giants admitted, maybe a little slyly, maybe not explicitly, that they're not as confident in Daniel Jones as they led on to be, because Tyrod Taylor is getting first-team reps in addition to Daniel Jones. So, what are the odds that Tyrod Taylor actually cedes this job from Daniel Jones and at least, plays a few games before he inevitably gets hurt?
I think what has to happen is you have to start with Daniel Jones. He has to start, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if he gets hurt or he can't compete and Tyrod takes the job, I don't think you go back to Daniel Jones, right? It's like, once he's out, but you've got to give him every chance to succeed. And unfortunately, from what I've seen, it looks like Daniel Jones is going to be like a career backup. It's just what it looks like to me right now. He's looking too much like Dave Brown out there. He's not looking like a Josh Allen or, I don't know, like a Joe Burrow. Like, he's not looking like a guy that should have been taken top 10. And the craziest part is, in that draft, the Giants really reached for him. I mean, there was nobody talking about Daniel Jones. There was nobody, like, trading up to get Daniel Jones. You would think that he would have been there in the 3rd or the 4th rounds. So he's looking more like a career backup to me.
Well, it's always the Broncos were scaring people into the fact that they may draft up, and that's where the Giants ended up, kind of reaching for Daniel Jones. I'm with you. I don't see Eli Manning there. Like, I don't see, I don't see a great quarterback. Like, yeah, Kyler Murray was the number 1 overall pick and, allegedly the best quarterback available. Time will tell. The late Dwayne Haskins was also in that draft. So, it wasn't a great draft for quarterbacks to begin with.
Exactly.
So,
there was no reason to reach for a guy.
Well, I mean, a reach. Drew Lock went 42 to the Broncos. Perfect example. So,
And he's gone.
Yeah. He could have, but so was Noah Fant, who went 20 in that draft.
And he's gone.
He's gone. So, it's one of those things that, would the Giants have been better off taking a guy like Josh Allen from Jacksonville's Josh Allen, or TJ Hawkinson, or Ed Oliver, or Devin Bush, or Rashawn Gary? Those are guys that went in the next 5 or 6 picks after Daniel Jones, and they've kind of established themselves as big money or decent at the low end NFL players. I'm looking at you, Josh Allen from Jacksonville. Everybody else seems to have cemented themselves pretty well. But, Daniel Jones is on the 5th year of his rookie contract. It's most likely he's not going to get extended. He's going to hit the market. And I think journeyman backup quarterback is definitely an accurate assessment of where he's going to be.
Jarrett Stidham in that draft, too, who was also gone on to Vegas.
Do you love brownies? Of course you love brownies. But you know what's better than a brownie? A delicious, handcrafted, gourmet brownie delivered right to your doorstep. That's what our guys at Sweet Life Brownie Co. offer. Chef Tommy D and the crew offer a dozen delicious delights that you will crave, from the classic OB to Dutch apple to campfire s'mores and many more. Check out their website, sweetlifebrownieco.com, for their Friday brownie drops. At noon, their site goes live and you see what they're making. Since you're there, become a site member and earn points. You earn 50 points just by signing up. Make sure you follow them on Instagram and Facebook too, at sweetlifebrownie_co, for the latest updates and their latest releases and creations. That's sweetlifebrownieco.com. Give them a call, 845-641-3043, and tell them D&Z sent you. That's sweetlifebrownieco.com, 845-641-3043. Sweet Life Brownie Co., because there's always room for a brownie. Well, one guy who might be going someplace, his contract is up. He wants a new contract with Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. He has not logged any time in the preseason games. He's not going to play the first 2 games. He didn't play against the Titans. He's not going to play this weekend. He's still waiting for a new contract. He's representing himself, which is always a risky proposition. In the court of law, they say if you represent yourself, you got a fool for a client. But will Lamar Jackson get a deal done before the start of the season?
I mean, they have to, right? I can't imagine him playing, especially with his style of play. However, I'm a Ravens fan, and you know what? I think this might sound weird to you, but I'm actually okay if he doesn't play. I really do like his backup, Tyler Huntley. I think he's more than capable. I think he has a very good rapport with their tight end on the team.
Andrews, yep.
Andrews really excelled when Huntley was in, as opposed to when Lamar was in. They've kind of created this offense for Lamar, and Tyler Huntley can run it. Now, he was on the wrong end of a couple of interceptions, but he's got the skills, he's got the tools, he's very athletic, much more athletic than Daniel Jones. So, if he, I don't know what the hang up is. Is it years? Is it dollars? So that's the thing, is I don't know. And I can't imagine the Ravens trying to be cheap with this guy when they pretty much catered their offense to him.
Last time I checked, who won an MVP? Lamar Jackson won an MVP. Who did not win an MVP? Kyler Murray didn't win an MVP. And yet, I'm looking at Kyler Murray making a ridiculous boatload of dough. Now, Deshaun Watson, I'm looking at him too. That money's guaranteed.
Yeah.
And he may not play because he rightfully should be suspended.
Right.
So if I'm looking at if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm looking at these two guys. It's like, I've delivered the goods. These two guys have not. Pay me.
True.
Pay me.
True. I mean, yeah, if you're Lamar Jackson, but if I'm the GM of the team, I'm trying to figure out, like, I don't know how sustainable his play is. And I don't know how successful Murray's going to be. I think they're ass backward down in Arizona. I think they're crazy for giving that guy that much money. And then I think the Browns are even crazier giving a guy who hasn't played football in a year and that's going to be suspended that much money. You know, I'm looking more along the lines of an Aaron Rodgers, right? Because that's, I think, he's the number one paid quarterback. So Aaron he's got more MVPs than Lamar. He's got a Super Bowl win, and he's been to another Super Bowl. So Lamar hasn't touched Aaron in those retrospects, and he hasn't been as successful passing the ball as Aaron has. At the end of the day, you're a quarterback. That's who you are. You're the quarterback of the football team. So, you know, that's what I'm measuring you against. And I think Goff, I think, is 4th or 5th. He's another guy that's actually been to a Super Bowl. So, you know, I know you're not supposed to, but I'm discounting Murray and I'm discounting Watson. I think those contracts are absurd. That's not how I'm grading. That's not how I'm grading Lamar. I'm grading Lamar on his quarterback play compared to the quarterbacks in the league.
Well, if I'm the GM of the Ravens, I'm also, like, reflecting on my own inability to get this guy a receiver. Right? You brought in Sammy Watkins, who's a 2. Sammy Watkins is a 2, right? You drafted Hollywood Brown. You shipped his ass out of town. Hollywood Brown's already gone. You're looking at Bateman, Duvernay, Prochet. Andrews is your guy. Dobbins has been activated off the PUP list. So you are going to have some semblance of a running game with him and Gus Edwards and Mike Davis and Justice Hill. You actually have a four-headed monster that you can run out of the Baltimore backfield. But, like, I am looking at, if I'm the Ravens GM, I go to Lamar Jackson. I think I have failed you because I cannot get you a target. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers.
Well,
Aaron Rodgers at any given time has had Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, you know, down the list. You know, Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, Robert Tonyan at tight end. Like, Aaron Rodgers has
Tonyan's a bum. Robert Tonyan's a bum. But they do have either the best or the second best tight end in the league in Andrews. Now, let's look at the top 10 paid quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we got Rodgers, Watson, Mahomes, Allen, Derek Carr. That's the top 5. And then after that, you got Stafford, Prescott, Wilson, Cousins, Goff. So I'm looking at the between $45 and $40 million a year. That's what I'm looking at for Lamar. He's not getting Aaron Rodgers 50. He's not getting Watson 46. And I'm sorry, you're not getting Pat Mahomes 45. You're not getting that. I'll give you, and to me, you're in Allen territory. Very similar players as far as their ability to run, their ability to throw, and how important they are to a team. The Derek Carr number is stupid, but I have to beat that number. You're better than Derek Carr. Fucking the homeless guy on the street is better than Derek Carr. So that's where I'm going.
But what did Brandon Beane do for Josh Allen? He went and got Stephon Diggs. Like, what, that is, you can't expect your quarterback to make chicken salad out of chicken shit all the time.
Well, you know what? They went and got Diggs, but they also bulked up their defense. Now, to defend what Bisciotti did is they went and they have the best They have one of the best backfields in the league with J.K.
Agreed.
Dobbins. Okay, so and they did draft a guy. He just got hurt, and he's supposed to be back, and he's supposed to take the reins this year in Bateman. And then Hollywood Brown, I don't know what happened in that situation, but he got shipped out of town. I don't know why, but whatever. Can you take the championship from DNZ? This year, you can play our football pick'em on CBS Sports and compete against us in the option every week. Check the link in our Instagram bio, Fade Route Podcast, for all the details and to sign up. Then tune into the Fade Route every week until the Super Bowl for updates and standings. Bring it on. But speaking about people going out of town, Tom Brady will be away from the Bucs camp until August 19th. The quarterback took off starting on August 9th, and the team said his departure was planned and personal. The team expects him to be ready week 1. Is Brady mid-camp break a big deal, little deal, or no deal?
Well, it was planned in advance, according to head coach Todd Bowles. He was informed that Brady was going to be stepping away. Obviously, you don't want to speculate, considering the fact that if you've watched Man in the Arena, you know about his mother's health problems. You don't want to start speculating about why he may be gone. But it's no deal that Tom Brady is gone. Like, he knows the offense. It's his 3rd year in the offense with Byron Leftwich. Todd Bowles is a defensive coach. He's going to leave Byron Leftwich alone, and he's going to let Tom Brady do what Tom Brady does. Now, if anything, this is a good thing for Todd Bowles, because if there's a situation where Brady's knee gets rolled on and he blows out his leg again, or he's like, fuck it, I'm going to go spend time with my family. I'm done. You know, you're going to get a look at Trask. You're going to get a look at Griffin. You kind of know what you have in Gabbert. Like, I mean, he's in the Geno Smith territory. He is who he is at this point. So, like, I'm going to take that time and I'm going to, like, invest it in these other players, because Brady is in his mid-40s. Like, it's about time that he winds down. Now, whether or not he does is another story, but I'm not making a big deal about this, because at the end of the day, you know, anybody is entitled to step away for personal reasons, and we shouldn't be like delving into that. We should take them at their word, and then if something comes from that, then of course it's fair to speculate. But you know, I think that it's fine. And Antonio Brown, I know, was taking shots at Brady, saying there was a clear double standard, but you know, I'm not in agreement with Antonio Brown on that. But I'm saying no deal.
Yes, I mean, to me, I think it is a big deal. I feel like he's a guy who enjoys being out there with his teammates. He enjoys playing the game, and let's face it, he doesn't have that much time left. You know, there's sources, like you said, you know, about his mom's health. They're speculating, but there are also other sources saying that he really wasn't digging the humid weather in Miami. I mean, in Florida during training camp. And he was also getting very frustrated with the offense, very frustrated with the receivers on several occasions. I don't think this is a good look for Brady, and I don't think this is a good look for the Bucs. I remember when Rodgers did this. I think it was last year. I got on him for it, and it showed. They came out flat. I think they got drummed by like the Saints, or they got drummed by, I want to say, Jacksonville, or some team that, you know, that just took them to school.
Week 1, they got their ass beat by the Saints.
Yeah, so, you know, you're setting yourself up for that. And I granted, he'll come back, and I'm sure everything will be fine, but, you know, you're supposed to be the man in the arena. And, you know, these are the dog days of camp where you're forming bonds with your teammates, and you're getting ready, you know, to go to battle for essentially, what, like 6 months? 4 months? So I don't give him a pass here. I wonder what's at play. And listen, that's my guy. So I hope he comes back, and I hope he tears it up.
Now, what are your thoughts on the tweet from Antonio Brown? You know, basically, you know, stating that there was a double standard based on like his behavior causing the reaction that it did, and then Brady kind of ho-hum. Brady's just going to take off some time.
Listen, if we're gonna take them to their word, right? We're gonna say he told the Bucks he was gonna do this. This was a planned, trip away. It wasn't like he came in on Monday and was like, "Listen, I'll be back August 19th," and he didn't throw a fit, or he didn't throw shade, or he didn't erupt on anybody. I'd like to believe that this was planned. The only thing I wonder is, is it really planned? And is he taking time off to figure out if he really wants to come back? Like, is that a possibility? Like, how crazy would it be if he comes back and says, "You know what? I thought about it. And I don't want to be here anymore, and I'm done." How possible is that?
I mean, it's possible. It definitely is possible. But here's the difference between other teams and what Tampa Bay has done, right? They drafted Kyle Trask. He's still on the roster. So, Aaron Rodgers goes and retires tomorrow, you're stuck with Jordan Love. Whereas you have Gabbert, you have Griffin, you have Trask, but then you also still have Mike Evans, you still have Cameron Brate, you still have weapons, you still have Leonard Fournette in the backfield. That team is not... Will it be diminished because Brady is gone? Yes, but you are still capable of winning if he's gone and somebody else has to fill in, because the rest of that team is built to be a contender. Now, maybe Brady is also a little bit gun shy of standing behind the third string center, because Jensen's hurt, his backup got hurt, you're now onto some guy who they signed off the street. So maybe that's also another thing. Like, let Gabbert get his knees cut out from under him, and I'll wait for Jensen to come back. But I think if Brady leaves, I think the Bucs are still in a good position. I think they'll still be fine. Now, we'll see what happens there. For all the grill masters, green thumbers, home repair heroes, and DIY aficionados in the Richmond, Virginia area, if you're looking for personal service, quality products, and a convenient shopping experience, look no further than Thacker Ace Hardware in Colonial Heights, Virginia. Owner Don Rackley and his team of local experts have everything you need to tackle all of your home projects. I'm talking paints by Benjamin Moore and Clark in Kensington, power tools by Craftsman and Milwaukee, electrical, plumbing, hardware, and let's not miss the grills. Weber, Big Green Egg, Traeger, Blackstone, top shelf, amazing. And for all you green thumbers, their nursery department is fantastic. Give them a call today, 804-766-4223, or stop by 27 Dunlop Village in Colonial Heights. That's 804-766-4223, or swing by 27 Dunlop Village in Colonial Heights. Thacker Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks. But speaking of being in a bad position, Fernando Tatis Jr. of the San Diego Padres,
That guy.
tested positive over the weekend for a banned substance and is suspended 80 games. It will carry over into next season. Tatis claims he did not knowingly take a banned substance. He was taking a medicine in which an ingredient contained a steroid in order to fight ringworm. Now, I looked into what you can use to fight ringworm. Lotrimin. But Lotrimin, you can find that at any CVS. Now, what are your thoughts on Fernando Tatis Jr. and the Padres moving forward? And do they already regret signing him to that 14-year contract?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I thought about when I heard the ringworm thing was you. That's odd, but it's the first thing I thought about. I thought about that you were right. They should have included him in the Soto deal, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also starting to think that the Padres knew about this, which was why they were all in on Soto, and they were willing to sacrifice and give up so much, right?
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense, right? And for me, this is the MO of this team, man. This is the motto of this team. It's I'm for myself, nobody else. What does it take to you to call the trainer on the San Diego Padres and be like, hey man, I got ringworm. Can you recommend something I should use? Is there something I shouldn't be using? Can help me out? Like, what does it take to make that phone call? I ask my doctor about stupid shit all the time just because I'm not sure what it's gonna do to me. What does it take? You have all these things at your disposal. Call your agent. Ask your wife to look it up. Like, well, how does this happen? And for me, it's like, how do you not consult anybody when you have this much on the line? You have to take whatever precaution you have to take. Anything you put into your body, you're responsible for. You got to ask. You got to talk to people. You can't just assume.
Right. So the banned substance is cholesterol, which, according to ESPN, is a derivative of testosterone, an anabolic steroid, and has been banned by WADA. So there you go. Like, that is where Fernando Tatis is. Also, in the time you were speaking, I typed into Google treatments for ringworm, and I came up with an over-the-counter antifungal cream, such as Lotrimin or Miselex. In the time it took you, in like the minute and a half, I typed that in, and I found that answer.
Yeah,
so
I just think
excuse.
it's bullshit. I think it's a bullshit reason. I don't know why he's been hurt all year, so I don't really understand why he's taking banned substances in his free time. They're in a pennant race. They're trying to get the second wild card. None of that means anything now. I mean, here they were coming. You were going to come back with your bat, and on this team that's like a juggernaut, and you James Harden them, or you Kyrie Irving them. Like, you totally just are not showing up for the rest of the year and most of next year.
It's unbelievable. And you know what? To make matters worse, the rush to defend, right? We had David Ortiz is on record saying that Major League Baseball should have swept this under the rug because Tatis is a great player. His own father, Fernando Tatis Jr., who, by the way, got popped in the Mitchell report. I'm just saying, it runs in the family. Now, he also rushed to defend his son, as he should. Like fathers should defend their sons. I'm not disputing that. But, for something, what he called insignificant. This is not insignificant. To me, this calls into question everything that he did in his career. When you couple this with the poor judgment of the motorcycle accidents, and now the poor judgment of this banned substance, how much of this is real? How much of what he did was real, and how much of it was a sham? Like, it is very fair to call into question what Fernando Tatis Jr. is as a player. And we're going to find out. We're going to find out who he is, because once he's done with his 80-game suspension, we are certainly going to find out if he is El Nino, if he's the guy that Major League Baseball, strapped a rocket to and wanted so desperately to be the face of the league, or if he's just going to end up being an also-ran who, was another victim of using performance-enhancing drugs.
You can't help but smile when you see a balloon. The simplest occasion is a party. Westchester Pop Stars, located in New Rochelle, New York, offers balloon styling and decor for all life's events. Birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, showers, school and corporate events, store openings, or just because. Westchester Pop Stars takes balloons and shapes them into works of art, creating decorative installations for your special occasions. No event is too big or too small, and their custom personalization service is top-notch. Westchester Pop Stars is a private studio, quickly expanding. In-person consultation is by appointment only. Send an email to westchesterpopstars@gmail.com for more information or to schedule an appointment. No need to hire an event stylist. All you need is balloons. Currently servicing Westchester, Putnam, New York City, and Connecticut. To find Westchester Pop Stars, search for them on Instagram, Facebook, or Google.
But one guy who we're pretty sure is clean is Aaron Judge. You know, he's legit. But the Yankees are struggling right now despite his success. Judge is crushing the ball, currently has 46 homers. He's on pace for 64. Will Aaron Judge finish the season with over 60 home runs? And if he does, is he the regular season home run champ?
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, I think he does finish with. I think he finishes with 64 home runs. And I will consider him the home run champ. And it's nice because I still consider Maris the home run champ. Those other guys cheated. Your Sosas, your Bonds, your McGuires. All those guys cheated. Unless Judge tests positive or something, I will consider him the regular season home run champ if he breaks it. And to me, Roger Maris right now is still the guy. You know, and that's I wholeheartedly believe that.
I mean, Aaron Judge, he is the poster boy for the league right now. You know, wholesome, clean-cut dude, hits monster dingers. He's what you want to be, right? He's on the field every day, unlike a guy like Mike Trout. He's doing it the right way. He carries himself with class. He carries himself with dignity, and he's a stud. We can agree with that. Now, he's on pace, right? 46 home runs. The Yankees are kind of falling apart right now. Like, Rizzo is leading off. LeMahieu is hurt. Stanton is out again. They just had to call up Florial. Hicks is in a slump. The Yankee offense is not what they had hoped it would continue to be. So who's to say he doesn't start getting pitched around a little bit more? But if you're looking at it, he'll definitely get into the 60s.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is one of the reasons why I was hesitant in the beginning to think that he would break it was because I thought he would get more days off. But they've been losing so much, they have to play him. And Stanton's out, which is really hurting the situation. And, Yankee fans are freaking out in New York regarding how this team is just pretty much awful. I think they're 2-8 in their last 10. They jumped out to an early lead over everybody, but it was with smoke and mirrors. I mean, I'm telling you, that lineup of Rizzo, Judge, Stanton, that was just garbage, and all of it's just I just think it's all catching up to them now. I'm not sure if anybody could overtake them, but it's certainly going to be once you get into the playoffs, you're going to face competent teams with competent pitching. I mean, now they're not even able to score. They've been shut out the last couple of games. That's just ridiculous that that's even happening. And everyone's calling for Cashman's job. It's like, how could you call for Cashman's job? They have the best record in Major League Baseball. I understand they're in a slump and they're losing, but I mean, he did put this team together. I mean, to his credit, to me, he really only has that 2009 World Series. Those other World Series were put together by, what was the guy's name? Gene?
So Bob Watson was before him, and then Gene Michael was
Gene Michael and Bob Watson put those teams together with the homegrown guys. And, he's really been a person that's held on to talent for too long. You look at Clint Frazier, you look at the kid Adams, who's not even in the league, he's not even playing baseball anymore. And now what he's doing with Andujar, let the dude go and get something for him. I mean, when you think about it, I'm pretty sure our viewers will have to check the record on this, but I'm pretty sure the Astros were willing to trade Cole Hamels if the Yankees would have given up Clint Frazier, and the Yankees wouldn't do it. And you fast forward to the Astros win the World Series, and then the next 2 years later, Cole Hamels is Garrett Cole is on the Yankees, and Clint Frazier is not even Major League Baseball. He's not even on a Major League roster. So I will say with Cashman, but if you get rid of him, you know what you got, you don't know what you're going to get, and there's really nothing to be crying about right now.
Well, the Yankees are high on Damon Oppenheimer. He's the second in command to Brian Cashman, so it won't really be if they get rid of Cashman, it'll most likely be Damon Oppenheimer or John Daniels, who just got canned by the Rangers. So we'll see what happens there. But I understand Yankee fans' frustration, right? Because if you're looking at it, Brian Cashman has been in this position since 1998, right? And he had that run of success tweaking Bob Watson's teams. And Bob Watson tweaked Stick Michaels' team. So it's kind of like a conglomerate in terms of those championships. Like, it's a very one-note team, right? Spend, home runs, and hopefully you can outduel the other team. The 2017 Yankees were the only outliers there because you had those young kids, those young, hungry kids with the Sanchez's and the Judges, and they were still early on in their careers, and that team was constructed differently, and then they went star hunting again. So Brian Cashman knows one way to build a team, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Back to what we were talking about, Aaron Judge, he's most likely going to win the major league home run title because you're looking at Judge with 46 homers, and there's really nobody close, right? Yordan Alvarez has 31. Now, he would have to go, Yordan Alvarez is more than capable of going on a tear, but is it likely? Not with Judge still in the lineup, still being able to pace himself. Byron Buxton gets hurt. He's only played 89 games this year. If Byron Buxton was healthier, would he be higher on the list? I don't know. Anthony Rizzo is fourth. He's tied with Ohtani with 27 homers. It's such a gap in the American League. Now, if you're looking at the National League, you're looking at Kyle Schwarber has 34, right? So Aaron Judge is a good lengths away from these guys. So it is within the realm of possibility that he can win this thing running away. He absolutely can. And, I understand where you're coming from as far as Maris being the home run king and Henry Aaron being the home run king based off of that. But, we've had this conversation before. Put the asterisk. You need to have an understanding of history, and these guys are history. They're a tainted part of history, but they still need to have their story told, even if it's, in infamy. But Aaron Judge is crushing it, and I think that 64 is definitely within the realm of possibility because he can go on a tear as well. If Stanton gets back healthy, if the Yankees get whole and hitting again and Judge is protected in that order, I don't see why 64, 65, I don't see that as being too much of a stretch. Looking to break into broadcast media, web development, social media marketing, or filmmaking? Then CSB is the program for you. From day one, you'll be trained hands-on by industry pros like friend of the show Rob Adams, whose goal is to get you trained and get you working in months, not years. CSB offers 8 and 16-week programs in small class sizes designed to give you the personalized attention you need. If you can make it in person, there are 5 East Coast locations. If you can't, they offer virtual classes too. How great is that? And once you graduate, you become part of the alumni network that gets you to the front of the line. Trust me, I'm an alum myself. Go to gocsb.com today, request more info, set up a studio tour, and who knows, you may very well be on your way to a career in broadcast media. That's gocsb.com and tell them Z sent you. gocsb.com. It's the In Route, where friends of the show get a special segment with us. Want to be part of the action? Want to be the newest member of the In Crowd? You know what to do. Hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com, or slide in those DMs on Fade Route Podcast on IG, or hit that Twitter, FadeRouteDNZ.
us on the en route this evening is Mets superfan and historian, soccer insider, and proprietor of Casa Squirrel, Bob Squirrell, everybody.
Bob.
Hey, good evening.
Oh, glad to have you on. All right, we're going to start with your New York Mets. They took 4 of 5 from the Braves last week at Citi Field. Do the Mets have anything to prove this week as they're wrapping up a 4-game series in Atlanta?
Well, it would have been great to sweep this series, but when you're catching me here, we've actually lost the first 2 of this series. But we're up 4-0 right now.
Second inning, third inning, a little bit of rain. But, for the Braves, I think they came into this series saying, you know what, we have to beat DeGrom, we have to beat Scherzer, because at some point they're going to have to beat either both of those guys or one of those guys if they're going to move forward in the playoffs.
You're absolute in that regard. I mean, and that's what they're facing tonight and tomorrow. And quite frankly, as a Met fan, I was thinking we wouldn't get swept, but I thought it would have been great. The split is really what the Mets been doing, just winning series. And that's what's getting us through this season in such a great manner at this juncture. So
Well, right now we're definitely like in the throes of the dog days, and the Mets are dealing with a couple injuries in the rotation now. So David Peterson definitely is going to have a bigger role moving forward now that Walker and Carrasco are going to be out for the foreseeable future.
And Miguel, who they had thought when he comes back, which was another week or so, is going to go into the pen. Now it looks like he's going to have to toe the rubber for 5 or 6 innings. So it's not so bad. He did well in the beginning. He won our opening day game. So, I mean, the guy has been proving himself as well. Just it's amazing all the injuries are getting oblique-wise this year. Not just in the Mets, but in the majors. You see it happening all over the place.
It is a sensitive area. The Mets last won the World Series in 1986, but they were in the World Series in 2000 and then again in 2015. Do the 2022 New York Mets share anything in common with their successful predecessors?
It's a great question. I think they do. They share the roles. They all support each other. There's a platoon system that Buck has been using all season, which is very similar to what Davey did back in '86. I mean, heck, he had Ray and Hojo playing third base, Ray Knight and Hojo. So, they flip-flopped all over the place in that team. The outfield was Dykstra, rotating with Mookie. So it's very similar this year in how they're handling it. Look at Kana now is doing it with McQuinn, our new guy. So we do have a lot of names. That's one thing. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Now, obviously, DeGrom, Scherzer, and Diaz are the most important arms in the Mets pitching staff. But what other pitchers need to bring their A game come towards the end of the season and come playoff time?
Well, we actually hit on 2 that are now going into the rotation, Peterson and Miguel. But, it's a little disappointing, and I think he can come through as Walker has a lot to show me. I mean, here we've had 2 games against the Braves, and he hasn't gotten past the second inning in both games.
Surprising.
He's got to step it up. And, who knows? Maybe Joey Lucchesi will come back and give us a couple spot starts. I see he's down in St. Lucie now.
The master of the churve, Joey Lucchesi. Oh my goodness! But Walker's kind of like he's proving out to be a first half pitcher, because he also last year in the second half after the All-Star game he just went downhill fast. So I don't know. You think it might be an innings wall, or do you think it just might be that Taijuan Walker just isn't as good as his first halves indicate?
Well, they were actually showing come back from the All-Star game, Z, that he was starting to tip pitches again. So that might be part of it. But I think you're going to see Cookie Carrasco come back after a month. Maybe it'll be a little sooner from his oblique. And he was really on fire. I mean, he was 13-4, 14-4. So I think he could, it is a month and a half away. The waning days of September, he'll be back. So, and
totally.
If we get in the playoffs, that's the kind of pitchers you want, right?
Yeah, you want the guys who have been there, who've done that. Carrasco's been in the World Series, Scherzer, DeGrom, they've all pitched in the World Series. And even with all this success this season, D and I still feel that the Dodgers are the class of the National League. I mean, they've got the pelt on the wall. They've been there. They've done that with Max Scherzer. So Are the Dodgers, in your opinion, the biggest threat to the Mets, or is there another team on the horizon that the Mets need to keep an eye on?
Well, at the beginning of this week, I definitely felt that they were, but they did lose Buehler this week too. So, and yet we had to go and lose Carrasco for a while. It's interesting. I thought the Padres were going to be there for a while. Actually, my outlier is the Brewers. I wouldn't be surprised if the Brewers are going to knock somebody off in the playoffs. They got to get there first, though, right?
That's true. I mean, it's a tough out with the Cardinals. Only one team's going to come out of that scrum. Only one team's going to come out of the Central. So, and I wouldn't put it past the Cardinals either. They're a wily bunch of guys, and they're super talented with Goldschmidt and Arenado.
Goldschmidt is he's going to play for MVP. I mean, he's really been having a strong season. I do believe that his name should be considered as one of the most valuable players in the league.
He's always been an elite player, and he was always hidden there in the Diamondbacks, and whoever heard of him, right? Because the Diamondbacks weren't doing anything when he was doing well. So now he's on the Cardinals, and he's showing his stuff. I concur with that. The Cardinals are a good bet as well. But I'm just saying it's a weird season. Even in the American League, you can see the Mariners, sneak in there too. So,
it's definitely, now that we have that additional playoff spot, all bets are off, and you're definitely you're seeing teams kind of hang around that you wouldn't necessarily, think so. Like the Orioles still are in it. They're only about a game and a half out in the American League. So, what are your thoughts? But since we have you, Bob, what are your thoughts on this expanded playoff format?
Well, I think it's good for what you just said, that, teams that maybe don't have desired aspirations going into the end of August into September maybe have a shot now. But I do think it has watered it down a bit. Because I was looking, here's where I thought that more so recently. Our last game, if it goes to the 7th game in the World Series, you're talking about the week before Thanksgiving. What? Doesn't it give me enough time to prepare for my next sporting event, the World Cup?
No, that's true, because World Cup is mid-November. You're right, in Qatar. That's absolutely right. I don't know what's going on with baseball. Let's just, we're gonna have a President's Day Super Bowl. We're gonna have Thanksgiving World Series. We're just gonna have it all year long. But
I do think baseball is coming back into more of a vogue, since some of these younger players collectively are now getting the youth, if you will, involved and following it. And social media is helping immensely. But I don't think they can't make it a 10-month sport. They just can't do that.
Yeah, and they really just can't. They can't really compete with football. We were actually talking about in the production meeting, the first preseason game had more viewers than the NBA Finals and more viewers than the Stanley Cup Finals. How's that possible?
Crazy. And think about with the way the NBA, there's a good example. You can't get them out of your mindset through the year, whether it's a draft or whether it's whatever, the Nets are doing or not doing. It's ridiculous. There's got to be a time to have a downtime for these sports.
True. But, Major League Baseball, what they like to sell in their off season is more like the hot stove and the rumor mill, and all free agency is very big. And, speaking of that, Edwin Diaz, as we know, is having a remarkable season this year. He's earning some consideration for NL Cy Young, but he's also an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. And 4/5 of your rotation, the Mets rotation, is a free agent plus Lugo. Pretty much, I think Peterson and Peterson, I think, is the only Met that is not going to be a free agent next year. So,
well, Max will be back, right?
Max will be back, but he'll also be 40. So, that's the thing, We'll see.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because it's an odd thing as a Met fan, Z, that we have an owner who knows what he's going to do with his money, and I think that might be part of the reason you got some other owners worried about it, because he'll just drag up the price of some people he never ends up getting. So all of a sudden, the Diaz, I like to think the Mets will re-sign him, but it's hard with a relief pitcher too, because sometimes they're on 1 year and then they're off 2 years. Right. But is this the second year or the first year that Diaz is going to have that being on? We don't know. But
so, in your opinion, who should the Mets prioritize? Who should Steve Cohen and Billy Epler target? Should it be to keep your rotation or keep your stud in the bullpen?
I think they're going to, because we have somebody like a Steve Cohen, I think you're going to get both. You're going to have, they're going to target Diaz, but it's going to be like quick decision. You're going to be with us or you're not. And if he's not, then they start investigating other places. And we're going to see it through the playoffs, who might be other key up-and-comers. I do think in the Mets staff, I mean, we were forgetting our friend, oh my God, what am I forgetting him? Our non-vaccinated pitcher, who's our innings eater.
Trevor Williams?
No, Bassett.
Oh, Chris Bassett. Yes.
Bassett.
Yes.
And he's eating up the innings, but there's somebody we could find another pitcher just like him. So I think that, you look at, he's somebody who takes on good money too, because wasn't he a Cy Young Award winner 2 years ago, or second to finish the Cy Young when he was with the A's? So
Yeah,
I mean,
Bassett definitely. Bassett is an underrated pitcher. He definitely is, and he's definitely going to. He's going to get his fair share of suitors. That's for sure.
yeah, and I do think that the Grom thing, you're getting it back to your question here. I do think they should go after Jake too. I don't know what's up his backside. I think he just wants to have the same money as Max, and I'm only hoping that's it. If he wants to go someplace else, let's hope he goes to the American League. So I don't want to see him on the Braves.
Well, I mean, my thought is this, and as a Met fan, like like I'm sure that you can agree or at least empathize. Like, he can have Max money when he stays, like, he can pitch like Max. Like DeGrom, ever since he found that 102, he can't stay on the field.
Yeah, no, he can't stay in the field. And what's interesting, he's proven it right now. I think he saw the line in the sand. He goes, okay, if that's what I got to do, I'm gonna throw it against the wall and let's see what happens. My arm falls off. My arm falls off. He has that kind of attitude. I look at it, unfortunately, where I say, go ahead, go somewhere else and get other money, because we supported you through all those injuries, Jake. We didn't have to. We could have easily cut bait as well. There wasn't guarantee in that other contract. When you did sign, maybe it wasn't max money, but we didn't know max money existed until Max signed. So.
And that's true. Like, I mean, who that was a new level for Met fans. But just a quick aside, it's amazing to me that you got D mentioned the 2015 World Series. If Jake leaves, every single young gun from that rotation and that pitching staff is gone except for Seth Lugo.
Right.
And Seth Lugo's a free agent too, so he might leave. Like, it's amazing how that team completely turned over. But we'll get you out of here on this one, Bob. We know that you're a huge Chelsea fan, and
rumor has
it. So I've been told.
Yes.
I'll keep it short and sweet since we're going to talk about your rivals. What the hell is going on with Man U, and how do they fix it?
Well, and a quick aside, I know I shot you a comment that, as far as I'm concerned, as a Chelsea fan, they could be relegated, and who cares? But looking at it soccer-wise, I do think that they just haven't given time to a decent manager, and I do think Ten Hag could do it. And after this transfer window is finally taken care of, whether Ronaldo's still there or not, or whoever comes in, give him the season. Let him finish 12 or 13, because not only does it satisfy what they have to do to get things straightened out, the fan base also gets straightened out, that they can't always just depend upon a fourth place finish or upper four finish. They think it's a God's gift to the world, that they should always get it. Listen to any Man U fan. Chelsea fans just don't say that. We know. I rooted for Chelsea before Roman came on board, and I saw the benefits. Now, granted, I was very young before that, but still, I know their history, and it wasn't that great. I think the Manchester United folks forget that they had some tough times too before, Alex came on board.
Oh, Sir Alex Ferguson, really, he saved Man U. But what about the Pulisic rumor that Man U's interested?
Yeah, that came up, I guess, last night and today. He needs playing time before the World Cup. It could be great, but at the same time, he's got to think about his career. But in being that he needs to get back to the Champions League, and he's going to have a shot with them, so maybe that's enough to intrigue him. I heard that they don't want to lend him out or loan him out.
I mean, we're going to see where this plays out, but one thing that has played out for sure is that Bob Squirrell, you are the newest member of the In Route, and thank you so much for coming on with us. And Mets superfan, historian, soccer insider, proprietor of Casa Squirrel, Bob Squirrell, thank you so much. And if you guys want to be a member of the In Crowd, hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com, or slide in those DMs on IG at FadeRoute Podcast, or to our Twitter account at FadeRouteDNZ. Bob Squirrell, thank you for coming on. And folks, you always F with the squirrel.
Yeah, guys, I really appreciate it. Hopefully I gave you some good insight, and let's FGM.
LFGM. Yes, sir.
Are you in need of air care maintenance or service? I have the company for you. Air Care Technicians. They service the Westchester and Northern Bronx area and can help you with all your heating and cooling, maintenance, and service needs. Just give them a call at 914-315-1547. Again, that's 914-315-1547. Or shoot them an email at aircaretechnicians@gmail.com. These guys are the real deal, as they are veteran-owned, licensed, and insured. Make sure to tell them that D&Z sent you.
The Fade Store presents the Alleged Superstar of the Week Award.
All right, guys and girls, you know what time it is. It is time for the Alleged Superstar of the Week. You know how it goes. We have a poll on our Twitter account at FadeRouteDNZ, and you vote, and you vote, and you vote, and you vote. The winner of that poll gets the coveted ass trophy, and he gets a shout out, or she gets a shout out on this here show. And do you know who took home the ass trophy last week, Dave?
No,
Spencer Strider.
that guy.
It was luck. It was pure luck that Spencer Strider took home the ass. But that is last week. This is this week. Who are your nominees for the Alleged Superstar of the Week, D?
All right, first up, I've got your very own Zach Wilson. Second possession of your first preseason game. You bang your knee up on the first series. You were 1 for 3 with a pick. You're just a hot mess, Zach Wilson. You're my Alleged Superstar of the Week. And number 2, the New York Yankees. Once on pace for a record-breaking season and wins. You're now 8-14 since the All-Star break. That is the worst since 1990. The 2-8 in your last 10. The New York Yankees, you are my Alleged Superstars of the Week. And last and certainly least, the Baltimore Ravens front office. 3 weeks before the start of the season, Lamar Jackson still has an unsigned contract. Get this deal done before the season starts. Baltimore Ravens, you're my Alleged Superstar of the Week. Z, what do you have?
All good choices. All very good choices. I'm going to start with Aaron Rodgers, a multiple-time winner. Aaron Rodgers, who threw his young receivers under the bus after a preseason game, calling them inconsistent and saying he was frustrated with the drops. Well, Mr. Rodgers, this is what happens when you sign the big money contract. Your best player, one Devontae Adams, ends up in Vegas because your team can't afford to keep them. So you end up with young, inexperienced receivers. Hope you learned your lesson. Aaron Rodgers, you are my Alleged Superstar of the Week. David Ortiz, who, in light of the Fernando Tatis suspension, stated that Major League Baseball is the party that screwed up here because they should have protected Tatis because he's a special player. What? Are you kidding me? That is absolutely ludicrous, and that is one of the coldest, silliest takes I have ever heard. David Ortiz, you are my Alleged Superstar of the Week. WFAN overnight host Sal Licata, speaking of asinine cold takes, saying that Taijuan Walker should have pitched through his back spasms and possibly risk injury because the Mets needed him for a game in the middle of August, citing that David Cone would have done it and John Smoltz would have done it. I've seen David Cone lie to Buck Showalter, and I've seen David Cone lie to Joe Torre about being done or about being hurt, and it blew up in his face. Sal Licata, you know not of what you speak, so do not bring it up again. Sal Licata, you are my alleged superstar of the week. And last but not least, Manchester United. You got beat down by Brentford. You are 20th in the Premier standings. You have ownership issues with the Glazer brothers. And now the Glazer brothers are finally opening. They're open to selling the team. Of course they are. And your solution is to go star hunting by bringing in U.S. men's national team and Chelsea star Christian Pulisic. Meanwhile, your alleged best player, Cristiano Ronaldo, wants out. That is a mess and a half. Manchester United, you are my alleged superstar of the week. I think we have made our case, ladies and gentlemen. Go to the poll and vote and vote and vote. And for our nominees. Just do better, boys. Just do better.
Your favorite podcast has its own merch line now. Go to the Fade store with DNZ.com today for all your Fade Route merch needs. I'm talking tank tops, t-shirts, sweatshirts, like yoga pants, we got those too. Like some cool accessories, we got those too. And we're not done yet. We have so much more planned for you, but check out what we have today at the Fade store with DNZ.com. That's the Fade store with DNZ.com. Order up!
We continue on with our NFL division by division preview by ordering up.
Order up, order up.
This week, we are ordering up the AFC North from 4 to 1. Who you got, D?
Well, this was actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I'm pretty sure you and I are going to differ in a lot of different areas. I'm going to start with the Browns. It's hard to have question marks about your quarterback position and then win a division. So for that reason, I do think they have talent, but I do think they're going to struggle, especially how Watson just did not look like the part. So I'm going to go with the Browns at 4. All right. And then, oddly enough, I'm going to go with the Ravens at 3. It's hard to know what they're going to be because they had so many injuries last year, and they weren't able to compete at a high level consistently. They get J.K. Dobbins back, Hollywood Brown's gone, Bateman's in. Defense, they still should be able to knock people around, but the Lamar Jackson contract situation, I don't know what goes on there. So I'm going to stick with them at 3. At 2, I'm going with the Steelers. They have talent on offense and defense. They're just not consistent defensively, as weird as that sounds. I think Mitch competes for comeback player of the year, and I think he leads the Steelers to success. At number 1, I got the Zebras or the Bengals, depending on what uniform they're wearing. Offensively, they're great. I do not believe in their defense, but I think they're going to outscore people. Burrow reigns supreme. Bengals win the North.
Interesting. Very interesting. So, we definitely are not going to tie like we did last year. So, I have to go with the Browns as well in the cellar, because of the fact that their quarterback situation is not settled. yes, they have a very good team, but the quarterback, it's a drastic drop-off from Deshaun Watson, who is suspended, and frankly, that's probably he's probably going to get more. Like, let's be real here. It's now in the appeal process. He's probably getting more than the 6 that they initially gave him. So that leaves you with Jacoby Brissett, Joshua Dobbs, and Josh Rosen. That's a hell of a drop-off in terms of talent-wise. Could they go get Jimmy Garoppolo? Sure. But they don't have Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Kareem Hunt wants a trade. Denied. So, plain and simple, denied. Get back to work, Mr. Hunt. They have talent, but it's Cleveland. It's going to be a colossal waste of talent. 4th place, I'm taking the Bengals. I'm saying Super Bowl hangover. The offensive line issues are going to finally catch up with them. Yes, they improved with tight end. Hayden Hurst is better than CJ Uzama, who's now with the Jets. They brought in Ted Karras. They brought in Alex Kappa. I still don't believe in this line. They tried to get Joe Burrow killed last year, and he's already down with an appendectomy. So we'll definitely see what it is. Like you, I do not believe in their defense. So that just doesn't add up. They overachieved last year, 3rd place this year. 2nd place, I'm going with the Ravens. I really think that a healthy Dobbins makes a difference. But he's going to be that bell cow. You're going to have Edwards, Davis, and Hill, like I mentioned. Maybe they can get something out of Bateman. Duvernay is a kick returner, in my opinion, but we'll see. There's the wideout room is still a question mark. Later in the season, maybe they get an Odell Beckham. Maybe they find some guys that get cut from a training camp, like a Chris Conley or, somebody like that. Maybe they can swing a trade. We'll see. But Jackson to Andrews is strong. The running game is strong. And they're going to rely on the defense, as they are wont to do. And it's still a damn good defense. So that leaves number 1, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Are they the same Pittsburgh Steelers from the past? No. But are they good enough to compete? Absolutely. You're looking at Trubisky is most likely going to get the start at the beginning of the year. Kenny Pickett is eventually going to take over for him, I think. I think that's going to be not quite a Kurt Warner, Eli Manning, but definitely close to that. And then if you look at the running back room, Najee Harris, Booger McFarland Jr., Benny Snell Jr., pretty solid. Deontay Johnson, Claypool, Pickens, Freiermuth is decent on offense. The defense, we'll see. They brought in Ogunjobi, Cam Hayward still there, TJ Watt, the best of the Watt brothers, still there. It's solid. We may have to order up the best Watt brother. We may have to do that eventually, but that's a damn good defense. If you look at Levi Wallace, Minka Fitzpatrick, that secondary is going to be underrated and it's going to be the MVP of that team. But I really like what I see out of Pittsburgh on paper, at least. And as long as Mike Tomlin is still there, I'm always going to ride with Mike Tomlin.
This has been the Fade Route with D&Z. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Catch our podcast on Wednesday nights on Anchor, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to your podcast. Until next time, stay faded, everyone.
Time for us to run the go route, but we'll talk to you next week.
Want to get in on the action? We want to hear from you. Hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com. Slide in our DMs on IG @FadeRoutePodcast. Drop us a DM on Twitter @FadeRouteDNZ. Comment on our YouTube channel, The Fade Route with DNZ. Questions, comments, picks, segment suggestions, you name it, we want to hear from you. Get at us, in crowd. Thanks for listening to this episode of our podcast. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Rate us 5 stars, leave us a review, turn on subscription notifications, and tell your friends. Spread the word, spread it wide.